That's Dr. Wael Mamdouh. And whether you know it or not, he is the reason why students graduate yearly from the American University in Cairo with a thorough understanding of nanotechnology. Dr. Wael currently holds a bachelor's degree in sciences from Ain Shams University, a master's degree in chemistry and nanotechnology from KU Leuven in Belgium, and a PhD in chemistry and nanotechnology from KU Leuven as well. He is currently the inaugural chair of the Biological, Chemical, and Global Health Sciences Department at the AUC. He also leads one of the AUC's largest dynamic research teams, the Biomedical Polymer Nanocomposites, Hydrogels, and Tissue Engineering Group, as principal investigator. And he's a fellow of the African Academy of Sciences, recognized globally for his contributions to scientific innovation and leadership in Africa. He is also the founder and CEO of NanoFipTech, a successful spin-off startup born directly out of his laboratory research labs at the AUC. Today, we're going to try diving into topics such as his personal journey, nanotechnology, and his company, NanoFipTech. And I would like to thank SunMed Agency for sponsoring today's production and Artline for sponsoring the very studio we are recording in. Thank you. I'm your host Hassan, and welcome to the Cairo Cable. Hello, welcome to the Cairo Cable Show. Today, for our first ever episode, we have Dr. Wael Mamdouh. Hello, doctor. How are you today?
Thank you very much, Hassan, for bringing me here today, and I'm very happy.
Okay, thank you very much for also showing up today. It matters a lot, and it will hopefully be a signature for the podcast as our first ever guest.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, let's dive into the objectives of today's interview. Our first objective, obviously, is to dive into your personal journey on how you got where you are today. And then we want to check into nanotechnology, what it is about, and more about what it is and how it affects us in our daily lives. And then we wanted to check out your new startup, NanoFepTech, that you are the founder and CEO of.
Okay, thank you very much, Hassan, for this lovely initiative. My name is Wael Mamdouh. I am professor of chemistry and nanotechnology at AUC, and I'm also the founder of NanoFipTech. It's one of the very unique startup companies came out of AUC. I'm also the chair of the Department of Biological, Chemical, and Global Health Sciences. Um, to share with you my journey, it's actually a very long journey. It all started when I was very little. I always had the passion for science, and I always wanted to be a medical doctor. And in my high school, I could not reach the percentage that was required to enter the medical school by 0.5%. So I entered Faculty of Science at Ain Shams University. And at that time, that was a very long time ago, there was some sort of agreement that after the second year in Faculty of Science biology major, that we could switch to Faculty of Medicine. And I would say my luck at that time, the first year, this was cancelled. So there was no longer opportunity to switch to Faculty of Medicine. Yes. So I continued my journey. I finished my university, and then I always wanted to have a business background. So I acquired scientific skills, but I entered the market, specifically the pharmaceutical market. So I was delivering to all pharmaceutical companies in Egypt the production lines, the raw materials, all what they need to make medicine and to make drugs. After 3 years, I was very lucky to get a scholarship from Catholic University in Leuven, in Belgium, and that was to pursue my master degree, and that was the beginning of my journey, actual journey. So from someone who's very passionate about business to someone who started to become a student again and to start learning outside Egypt, and that was quite challenging for me. I learned very fast, so I spent 1 year and 2 months doing my master's, and I was discovered that I was very good in what I was doing, but the business part was always kicking in. So I wanted to come back to.
So you're a natural entrepreneur
Yeah,
at the time.
yeah, you can say so. And at that time, I was offered again another scholarship to pursue a PhD at that time. And my degree was focused on chemistry and nanotechnology, and I had no idea about nanotechnology at that time. And I was mainly focused on studying how molecules are working together. So I was working on very advanced technique that I could actually visualize molecules. It's like, for example, if you take picture of yourself, like what they are taking pictures of us now. So I was taking pictures of molecules, see how molecules are oriented with each other. How can we force them to specifically arrange in a specific way? And this took me to study a lot of complicated matters like DNA, for example. Subhanallah, and we are created with perfect engineering that the DNA has a helical structure.
Yeah.
So all the molecules there, they have specific bonding in between. They are tilted in a specific way. If this tilt will be different, we will have what we call DNA mutation now. So I started to think about, well, we can dive into studying how molecules behave on different surfaces. And I obtained my PhD at that time with distinction. So I finished master's and PhD all in 5 years. I exceeded all the points that were required for me to finish the degree. So at that time we had like point systems. If you publish your results in international journal, you get, for example, 20 points. If you attend a conference, you get 10 points, etc. So I remember it was requiring 1,500 points to graduate, but I got 3,600. So it was almost
Over
double.
graduation practically.
Yes, exactly. And I had a lot of connections at that time with international scientists. And believe it or not, before I finished my PhD, I started my first job in Denmark. So I started my job, and after 3 months,
What was it?
I established my own group in a very prestigious university called Aarhus University. And in that, I was working in another very famous center known as iNano Center. So everybody was dealing with nano. And there I started to dive more into the world of nanotechnology. And I started to see people working with cancer, people working with bacteria. I was dealing with molecules. So everybody was working in different fields, but all of them were heading towards studying phenomena at the nanoscale. And the term nano, to bring it closer to you, it's a unit. Like when you say kilogram, so this is 1,000th of the unit. Gram, it's 1/1,000. When you say nano, it's 1/1,000,000,000 of the unit. So you can say this is a nanogram, nanosecond, nanometer. So can you imagine that your hair, the width of one hair is from 50,000 to 100,000 nanometers?
So 1 nano can be an unimaginably tiny
It's
scale.
unbelievable. You cannot really see it. So we need to have very advanced techniques to be able to see atoms and molecules at this very tiny scale.
What made you realize that nanotechnology was what you wanted to pursue in your career?
I didn't know it at the beginning, as I told you, but it came to me naturally when I started to pick up the field of research that I was exposed to. So sometimes maybe you do not have a clear idea at the beginning when you start a career, but then you will find yourself fitting a little bit more toward or leaning toward one particular type of field of work or science or
A
passion.
specialized area in your
Yes,
field.
exactly. So that was developing by time. But once I was exposed to it, it was developing naturally afterwards. And then I started to excel when I came to Egypt in 2011, when I started my research group at the American University in Cairo here. And I switched from nanoscience to nanotechnology. So this is a big difference. Nanoscience, when you only image molecules and see how they interact with each other. But when you take this study into application, this becomes now a nanotechnology. So for example, we prepare very tiny particles at the nanoscale. We call them nanoparticles. This is a nanoscience. But if you take them and inject cancer cell lines with them, then this becomes a nanotechnology. So I became towards nanotechnology when I came to Egypt, and I started to establish my research group at AUC.
Okay, well, that's really great. Now we all know that it takes immense grit to get a full professorship at AUC. Can you tell us what was one of the biggest hurdles that you faced along your way to get there?
Um, Dedication is number one. Um, the numbers of faculty who are very qualified, that's number two. And how to make your way through. So I'll give you the best example I always teach my students. How many thousands of students are graduating every year from schools, from universities, and all of them are planning to look for jobs. How many of them will actually get hired? The ones who are really unique. They worked on themselves. They worked on developing specific skills. They acquired skills much earlier, like what you're doing now, which I really admire.
Thank you.
So these people have to think that you are not alone in this world, and um, the real world is not waiting for you to jump in. You really have to create your own way, and that acquired me to um, learn a lot. I speak many languages, so I had to learn a lot.
How many?
Um, it used to be 4 or 5, but of course, by time it deteriorated a little bit.
What are they? Would you mind telling us?
Of course, Arabic, English. I learned Dutch. I learned Danish, and a little bit of Slovak language. Few words actually. So when I start to push myself to learn new skills not at a young age, it was very challenging. I had to attend all teaching development courses that were actually offered at AUC, and I was always, keen to learn new technologies like flipping classrooms, interactive learning. So a lot of new methodology that I started to acquire, and that what made me a little bit unique. And then when I applied for the position, I had a lot of publications in
Did
international
you
journals.
apply directly for professorship, or did you apply for another role?
No, professorship is a rank. So you always have to start like an army, for example, or police. You start with smaller ranks, and then you get hired. So the first rank worldwide is known as assistant professor. So it's always like every 5 years you can apply for the higher rank. So I started as assistant professor. I spent about 5 years, and then I applied for associate professor, and then afterwards I became a full professor. So each one of them you have to prepare very
So it
large.
took you 15 years to reach where you are today.
Yes. So, and to tell you the truth, when I go to any international conference, you could really see that we are on the same level, like all, or even sometimes higher than other professors in some other places. Although we do not have all, the top-notch facilities, we have some of them, but not as big as outside, for example, like in US or Canada or European Union universities, for example. So it takes dedication, it takes very hard work. It takes, very strong will that you really would like to achieve
grit,
something. Yes.
as we stated in the beginning.
Yes, exactly.
For students who are currently studying nanotechnology or are interested in the field, and what do you think is one mindset shift they should have or should do to reach where you are today, for someone who wants to excel in the field and reach at least one of the highest positions in it, such as you are?
They have to link what they do in the lab to real problem in the society. This is the most important.
Can you explain more? I'm sorry.
Yes. So, for example, you can be in your room or in your lab doing a lot of experiments, but they don't actually have valuable outcomes. So I work in my group with cancer, with all types of cancers. We work with specifically because we have a cancer as a problem. We have anti-cancer drugs. They are also in the market, but we still have cancer patients increasing day by day. So there must be a problem there. This is what we call funnel approach. So you have a problem, and this problem has current solutions, which are the anti-cancer drugs. And then you have drawbacks of current solutions. The drawbacks of anti-cancer drugs, for example, that if you meet any cancer patient who are following chemotherapy, for example, you will see that the drug will hit normal cells and cancer cells.
So you find them deteriorating in their health?
Yes, because the normal cells are getting killed also with the drug. So nanotechnology here helps that you direct the drug only to cancer cells. You
To
see?
keep the normal cells safe.
Exactly. So nanotechnology students, or anyone actually, not only nanotechnology students, you have to find a gap. You have to find a real problem in the society that you can address with very limited skills, and then you can work on your skills.
Mhm.
But you cannot just look for something which does not have any impact on the society. So for us, it's meaningless.
Mhm.
So this is the big challenge, or the biggest challenge.
I'm sorry, can I ask you about your time back in Belgium and Denmark? How was it like being an, as we all know, Arabs and Egyptians and such people of our ethnicity face major problems when traveling to foreign countries for education. What are problems that you faced in Denmark and Belgium that you hope do not happen to any other people, or you advise people that are currently planning to travel to try to protect them from facing it?
The most important challenge in my understanding is integration. So, and this doesn't happen only to Arabs, it happens to all ethnicities. So, you see Chinese people, Indians, and Eastern Europeans, and all of basically all ethnicities, they like to stick together. So, they travel outside and they stick together, they eat the same food, they gather, they celebrate with the same celebrations, and they see, uh, they segregate themselves from the society. And this creates huge tension. Huge tension. Why?
Yes, because they are divided.
They are divided, and when you see them, if I am the native citizen of a country and I see that this corner became completely populated by specific people, and they are actually opposing. I'm not saying, of course, all of them like that. I mean, I was one of the examples, and many like me who really like to integrate, who really like to meet with international students like us, meet with natives from the country. We like to know their habits, their foods, their
Learn their
dances.
culture.
Yes, their culture. This is very important. So you become like one of them without losing your identity.
So you'd relate this problem to such as, for example, the Indian Pakistani problem in London, for example, or let's say the African problem in Paris,
Yes, exactly.
correct?
Exactly. So this problem could be related to a number of things. One of them, that some of these communities, they lack the language skills, so they do not speak any other languages except their own. So they like to stick together to be able to survive. Um, some others, they do not like to integrate because they face cultural issues, so they like to stick together as well.
And cultural shocks, obviously,
Of course, a culture. So this becomes a major problem.
like you'd see how people that go from calm countries like Central Europe, when they go to places like New York, Cairo, Dubai, and places like this, they get a culture shock because it becomes more dense than their home country,
Yes,
correct?
yes, exactly. And it even happens here when people are coming from different governorates and they come to live in Egypt or in Cairo or Alexandria. They face, this
Major hurdle.
major hurdle and crowdness, so they are not used to that. So, but when you add to this that they are going completely different to a different country and they speak different language and
And
they
different cultural norms,
completely
obviously.
different. So some of them, they really face this kind of issue, so they will try to isolate themselves.
Mhm.
And the more dangerous part, that not only they are isolating themselves, but they are trying to impose their culture on the country itself. And this
That is
becomes,
wrong.
yeah, this is very wrong.
Mhm. Well, I'm sorry for the final question in your personal journey. If you had one piece of advice you'd want to give to yourself when you're just starting your whole entire journey, what would it be?
Think big and think outside the box. And I think this becomes the most important advices, because at that time I was only thinking like, two steps
Short
ahead.
term.
Yeah, very short term, that I'd like to become a business owner. That was the maximum. But I have never thought that I will become one day a professor. Never crossed my mind. And then when I was in that field, I always dreamed big, because I met in my life three Nobel laureates. I
Can you
had
tell us who?
Dr. Ahmed Zuwair, Allah yarhamu, and Professor Omar Yagi, who just received uh, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry just recently last year, and Professor Jean-Marie Lane in Strasbourg. I met him in France. So when you meet people like that, and you really see you're talking to Nobel laureates. So these are the highest ranked
In the field.
people in the world. And you see how kind they are and how knowledgeable they are. You really become, enthusiastic that you would like one day to become a Nobel laureate. Why
Yeah.
not?
Okay, thank you very much for your answers about your personal journey.
You're welcome.
They were honestly incredible.
You're welcome.
Hopefully, we can and our viewers can use this as something to help them in their future and in their career, hopefully, even if it's not in science or nanotechnology.
I just would like to give a sincere advice that when you travel to Europe or US abroad in general, you will always see young people and elderly people. They always use their time in the best possible way. When you take a public transportation, you see people just reading books. You walk in the streets, you go to the beach, you will always find people with books. This I haven't seen here for a while. You always see people on young, especially your generation, the Gen Z specifically. You are sitting on your phones all the time. We are sitting on our phones. We lose the human
Connection.
connection. We are always connected to the device, and this becomes a real issue of isolation. And this will definitely affect the communication skills and presentation skills. So I will not say we are killing ourselves softly, but I think it's not late just to push ourselves a little bit. And when we travel, we can take from there the good things, and we take from here the good things, and we make our own circles.
I've heard from most noble people, they believe that technology will be the end of communication between people and it will hurt the mental health of most people of Gen Z. So when they grow up, they will lack extreme skills and it will hurt them very much in their personal life, not only in their career, but also in relationships and future financial decisions and stuff. Do you believe that too?
It all depends on how you would like to use technology. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a knife. You can use it to hurt yourself, or you can use it to cut a piece of cake, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have a technology. Either you learn how to use it properly to help you to achieve your goal. Like, for example, surgeries. Our surgeons, when they do any surgery, they use tools. They use high-tech tools, right?
Yeah.
So they use them for a good cause.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be in front of a very high tech also, losing a lot of hours, learning nothing, and you are simply not gaining anything. So it all depends
So
on
you
what you
believe
would
there's
like
a
to do.
good and bad side of it.
Definitely, definitely is.
Okay, so thank you very much for sharing your personal journey.
You're welcome.
And let's dive into nanotechnology.
Sure.
Okay, doctor, now people often hear the word nanotechnology and think of science fiction, portals, and such as. But how do you explain what nanotechnology is to someone completely outside of the lab?
Okay, the nano is a scale. Okay, it's a unit. So you can say nanometer, nanogram, nanosecond. How small it is? It's a 10 to the power negative 9, which means it's 1 over a billion of the unit. Okay, so nanometer is 1 over a billion of the meter. So to bring it closer to you, as I mentioned earlier, the human hair, if you look at the thickness under a very advanced microscope, you will see that it's from 50,000 to 100,000 nanometers. Can you imagine? And we are the best example of nanosystems because we are created from small sperm and small egg. These are at the nanoscale. When they come closer together, but they are extremely smart. When they come closer together, they form a human being, and this kind of machine is working for 60 or 70 or 80 or 100 years without stopping. So this perfect engineering actually inspired scientists to start looking into what is actually nano, what can happen at a nanoscale. You see? So the nano is a unit which is extremely small, and you cannot see it by your naked eye. You need to have very advanced microscopes to be able to look at them under these different conditions.
Yes, but how do you, I understand that, but how do you explain what you do, like what you do on a daily, every single day when you go to work, when you go to the lab? What do you do while you are working? What is
Okay, I supervise a lot of students in my research group. So I'm leading a very large dynamic group. Um, it's about now 70 plus students. And these students, they are doing either the last year of their bachelor degree or master's or PhD degrees. Each one of them is working on a research topic. Like, for example, developing nanomaterial to work with cancer. But what type of cancer? Breast cancer, ovarian cancer, etc. Some others, they work with growing bones, so like dentists, for example. Some others, they work on treating contaminated water. So when I go every day, I have a lot of administrative work, but when it comes to the lab, I meet with my students and then we discuss the results, what they observed, because sometimes we are scientists. So sometimes you get some stuff which are not easy to explain. So we have to think why they behaved in this way, why they behave differently. They killed cancer cell lines, but they did not kill ovarian cancer cell lines. So we do a lot of brainstorming, a lot. And as I told you, we have very diverse backgrounds. So I have students with chemistry, they are studying chemistry or nanotechnology or biotechnology, global health, dentistry, pharmacy, even arts. So all of them are, when we talk with each other, we come up with novel ideas or interpretation to what they have been acquiring on a daily basis.
Okay, well, I would like to ask, what is the most impressive experiment you think you've ever observed on a physical way, like an experience you saw happen in front of your eyes, or something that your students have researched that really impressed you? What was the most thing that impressed you?
Two particular experiments. One of them was related to breast cancer, and we developed a system that could actually kill only breast cancer cell lines, and we added something known as a radio labeling to it. So it went in mice only to the cancer cell lines. It took all the way through just to kill the cancer cell lines. So it was like, you have a bullet and it went right through.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not normal, because normally they go to the thyroid gland
Mm-hmm.
and they will cause a lot of issues. But after the
What
modifications
is
we
the
did,
thyroid gland?
it's a very important gland that is responsible for hormones that we
Hormone regulation.
yes, exactly. So when this one is shot, then you will have disbalance in everything that your body will be doing.
Yeah.
So that was a very unique. So we have a
Why
patent on that.
why wouldn't this work on humans though?
Studying objects or research on human takes a very long time. So, for example, if you would like to develop a new drug, it takes approximately 20 years. A new drug, because it has to go through different cycles.
So a new drug entering the market today
It has been,
since 2006
yes, because there are so many tests that need to be
and
carried
permits,
out and
etc.
permits, yes, because you cannot risk, just you did it inside the lab. How are you so sure that when you try it on a human that it will not affect?
Are you planning to advance this research or experiment on a wider scale?
Yes, we are definitely doing that right now, and that's why the nanofeptic has been initiated.
Would you mind telling us the name of the student who thought of this idea?
We have Nancy Elbaz. She finished her PhD, master degree first with me at AUC, and then she traveled to University of Liverpool. She did her PhD there. We have also Dr. Now Norihan Farrag. So she's working now in the Egyptian Atomic Energy Authority. So um, in addition to many others, but these are
Yes, these are the main writers.
the main ones who opened this road to a lot of other students who started to develop other systems. But that was really because we started and then we started to develop until we reached a very good result right now.
You mentioned two experiments. This was the first. What about the second?
The second one was related, it came before COVID 19 by a few years. We use a lot of disinfection solutions, like, many in the market, you spray it in everywhere, but we miss a very important and serious problem, which is what are the components of these disinfectants?
Microplastics.
No, the disinfecting solutions, they contain harsh chemicals, okay? Like alcohol, 70%, like Dettol and all others, they contain mainly chemicals. So I wanted to think about harsher ones which we are normally using in pharmaceutical companies and healthcare facilities. They do not use the ones we are using on daily basis. They use other type of disinfection. So like bleach, for example. So they have to work like if you go to surgery, God forbid, uh, you will see that it's a sterile area. To reach this sterilization, they need to use very
Extremely harsh chemicals.
extremely harsh chemicals, and that was the main motivation for me, because we came across some of the laborers who are actually using these. They started to have some skin irritation. Some of them, they started to have asthma, and they cannot really reveal this kind of
Is
information.
this related to, I'm not sure about it, but I believe there's something called um, mayat nar that cleaners and nannies use in schools, um,
Yeah,
workplaces, and stuff.
it's very related, but the sad side is that they are not only using Maitnar, but they are using some other stuff with Maitnar.
What
So
is mayat nar?
Maitnar is a kind of very strong acids like sulfuric acid and nitric acid with very high concentrations. And if you touch it, you will actually like you dissolve your hands. So this has been used for like chemical crimes. If you have heard about this,
Yeah.
they can actually dissolve a human body completely inside those.
How do then nannies and cleaners use this on a daily scale?
Maybe because of the awareness, they lack the awareness. So they look only at the good results. They lack, certain knowledge that they will harm you because of the fumes that you are smelling, and because of the touch. You are touching them, so it will definitely affect your skin.
Do you believe it is an abuse of workers and cleaners for a workplace to provide these as cleaning equipment that must be used in the place?
In some areas, I wouldn't say abuse, but of course, there are some precautions that need to be taken. If the organization is not following that, of course, this becomes an abuse. But if it's a multinational company or a hospital or a pharmaceutical company or food company,
So
and
it
they are,
has reasoning behind
yeah,
it.
of course, it has, because they need to kill bacteria.
What about in offices, corporate offices, and schools, and normal places like the studio we are in right now?
They do not use this type of disinfection, but they use the normal ones that we are normally using.
Okay, doctor. So now, what is one misconception that people have about nanotechnology versus its actual reality?
The main misconception is that nano is bad, nano is toxic, nano will harm you, which are not properly correct. It all depends on what type of nano material you have and what kind of application you will be using it in.
Now, obviously, for our last question regarding nanotechnology, and it kind of blends with your personal journey, what is one of the most rewarding parts you feel as an educator for the future of nanotechnology and the students that you teach?
It's a very nice question. I always enjoy students who come to me and they have never heard about nanotechnology before. And then by the time they are about to finish their journey, they became expert. And then we sit together and we compare. Do you remember when you came 5 years ago or 3 years ago? You have no idea about this, and now you are a very experienced personnel and researcher in that. So that becomes very rewarding to me. And the other rewarding part that many of the researcher and the students, they choose a research topic that is very close to their heart. So one of them working with breast cancer, she had a family member who had a breast cancer, for example. Another one with wound healing, she had her father was diagnosed with diabetic foot. So it's always, kind of
Personal.
personal journey, so they can really get involved with their hearts. So this becomes very rewarding to me.
Obviously, we stated at the start that you're the founder and CEO of a company called NanoFibTech. Can you tell us about it and how it started, and what is your goal for it in the future, and how do you think it can change the living reality of Egypt?
It all started from 2011 when I started to accommodate the first cohort in my group, 5 students, and we started to think about nano. And I always wanted to see nanotechnology company in Egypt. At that time, the nano word was actually not very known, and I started to build up, a portfolio of ideas, specifically for having eco-friendly disinfectants. So That was the main idea, that we started to develop a lot of materials and we were doing some screening out. And then I, that was the first challenge for me in 2015 to enter a national competition with the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology here in Egypt. And that was called Intilaq. So that was the first competition that I entered. I won among the first 10 companies or project at the time. And that was the first transformation for me from a scientist to become an entrepreneur. So they were offering us with the Ministry of Investment at that time intensive courses in business and how to create a business canvas, business model, what is the business plan, what is capex and opex, a lot of new terms for me which I haven't heard before. And I started to think about how to translate some of the good research in my lab into a commercial product. So we started to think in different directions. One of them was cosmetics, and I actually have a very successful cosmetic brand called Eclore. And we started to continue what we are very good at, which is the R&D for actual problems. So we deal with cosmetic problems. We have a client, we have another client for textiles. We develop nanomaterials for uh, solving a problem on textiles, specifically changing of the color after washing several cycles. We have another project with encapsulation of essential oils and fragrances into nanosystems to have a sustained release and prolonged release over time. So this R&D arm is very important. The cosmetics arm is very important, and also we took some agencies from international companies to sell scientific equipment here in Egypt. So we do three things at NanoFabTech. By doing so, we started to apply for funding. We got a recent fund from Academy of Scientific Research and Technology. We got from JICA. We traveled to Sultan Qaboos University to present there our innovation. So it's really exciting to be part of this journey of entrepreneurship. And at the same time, we're actually selling products in the market and in pharmacies. And it really shows how you can translate a passion from a lab into a commercial product.
That is really impressive. And I'm sorry, one more question,
Sure.
or two more actually. How does it feel knowing that you are one of the first entrepreneurs to bring the idea of nanotechnology into Egypt?
It's very rewarding. We are still in the process of registering some of the nano materials because I would say 10 years ago, there was no specific organization that would actually give you a license of our registration of nanosystems. Now, the Egyptian Drug Authority is offering this kind of tests that you can do, and they can register your products. Other ministries also, they do the same. So it's rewarding now to enter the market, and we are in a much better shape than before.
Okay, now for the final question of the podcast, which will be the signature question of the podcast. What if you wanted to give one piece of advice to any young listener listening to this podcast right now? What would you tell them? And what would you motivate them to do at the age of 15, 14, the teenage years they have?
Very few quick questions I would ask you and all the people in your age. Uh, what do you want to be after you graduate?
Personally, I would like to be a UN staff member.
So you know the answer, but many others you do not know. So if you try to identify what you would like to become, this will be your first challenge. Number two, if I am in my company and I would like to hire you, why do I have to hire you and not somebody else?
Because of uniqueness.
So you need to have unique skills. You have to develop unique skills. And number three, do you think you are the only one in the world who will be applying for the job?
No, there will be hundreds to thousands of
And
people.
this will again will go back to the main point,
Uniqueness.
which is uniqueness. So if you'll just waste your time until you graduate, you will find yourself not going to university anymore. You are in the market, but you have nothing to offer. So I would say, with the technology now, with the era of opening channels all over the world, you get the information at your footsteps. So this is very important and valuable piece of advice, that you need to work on your own, develop your skills, be ready for the market because the market is changing. The technology, what you mentioned, is changing. A lot of jobs have been replaced by technology agents
AI.
and AI. So your choices will become limited. So if you will not jump in, equip yourself with latest technology, you will not have anything to offer.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Wael Mamdouh, for joining us today. And it is really an honor to have you on the first episode of the Cairo Cable. Hopefully, we grow much more than this as we are still a startup. But thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome, and it's a pleasure to be here, and I wish you all the best.
Okay, thank you for watching today, and it has been a pleasure having you as our first viewers of the Cairo Cable for episode one. Please tune in with us for our next episode and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and hit the like and subscribe button on this video. Thank you.